I am super excited and thankful because we will be having a topic discussion. I feel like it's been a while since we've done an IG live, so I'm very grateful. And we will be talking about things men wished women knew. So I'm excited to talk about that. But I wanted to open up with the poem, and hopefully not a cat fight in the background. So stand clear of that. Hey. Well, it's not a cat fight. It's more like a play fight. But Okay. So I want to open up with this. Dear men that have been told to stand strong, thinking that being tough was the only way to move along, this is to you. First and foremost, I must say you are incredible. Being able to face adversity the way you do. Pray that you never doubted yourself when you're feeling blue. Truth be told, you can show emotions too. Don't think that being vulnerable isn't cool. Your emotions deserve to take up space, letting things out and spoken about to help you tend to your own race. Difficult times come and they go, but holding in how you feel eventually will start to show and can make you wither away. Rushing to work, temporary people, just to avoid the pain. Drowning yourself in void, hoping it will fade away. But eventually it will show and it will come out in other ways. Take care of yourself because you deserve love, hope, faith, and care. Loving yourself wholeheartedly, regardless of who is there, will help make a difference. So you can see love in others and see who is sincere. Loving yourself doesn't make you weak, less than, or less meek. Loving yourself because you deserve it, because all of you is you. Loving because loving all of you is who makes you complete. All right now. Sorry, I'm too busy watching these cats. So and then I'm gonna bring up Anthony. Shout out Anthony. Go Anthony. Go Anthony. But men's mental health is a critical yet often overlooked aspect of overall well-being. Traditionally, society norms have emphasized emotional restraint among men, leading to stigma around discussing mental health issues. This can result in many men not seeking help or expressing their feelings, which can negatively impact their mental health and relationships. Understanding men's mental health is essential for promoting empathy and support in relationships. By fostering an environment where men feel safe to share their thoughts and emotions, we can improve communication, reduce the stigma surrounding mental health, and encourage healthier coping mechanisms. This is not only benefits men, but also enhances relationships by building trust and understanding, allowing for deeper connections between partners, friends, and family members. Ultimately, prioritizing men's mental health contributes to a more compassionate society where everyone feels valued and supported. So we're going to bring Anthony up in here. Give me 1 second, y'all. Conversation. So, Cream. Anthony!
How you doing, Jolanda? How's your night going so far?
It's going good. I can't complain. It's been a very productive day. And yourself?
Very busy, but productive as well, but can't complain. It's another day alive and just thankful to be here. So thank you. Thank you so much.
So can you let us know who is Anthony? What you do? Talk about it.
Yeah, so my name is Anthony Rodriguez. I am a content creator. I recently launched my new, I guess you want to say, interview/podcast on my YouTube channel. It is called The Construct. And The Construct basically is a platform where I bring a bunch of creative people from all walks of life, who are people who share personal experiences, who advocate for mental health, their faith, and people who are just passionate about what they, are in love with and they were raised with, right? Because everyone in the world is different, and I just love to hear people's stories of what brought them to that point, what motivated them to go on this path instead of this one. And It's been very exciting. My favorite interview, I'll be uploading this Friday. I'm very excited for that one, and just certain things that has happened in the past couple of weeks that have just shown, at least to me, that this is the right path for me. And God has a big plan for not just me, for a lot of people in my life, and it's been something special. That's a little bit about me, you know.
I love that. And since we're on men's mental health, I feel like when it comes to men, you guys can have a lot of challenges and drawbacks. Like, what kept you moving even through your obstacles to believe in yourself? Maybe if you may have not had all the support you wanted to start this podcast.
Yeah. I've experienced years of mental health myself, and what's really kind of aligned me in the right path, I feel like, is just staying true to God by following in His path, because I feel like a lot of people in the world are just kind of like a leaf in the wind, where they just flow with the motion and just continue to just let life define them and their destiny. But men, I feel like the men that stay true to themselves live life with purpose, and that gives them the most fulfillment by living life with purpose and intention. And I'm sure we'll get deeper into what those things that men feel fulfilled the most with, but that in itself has allowed me to not be distracted, because for many years, when I'm in my YouTube channel, I started off doing like TV reviews, movie reviews, little self-love, motivational stuff as well. But what I realized is that I like to talk to people, and I like to know their story. You and I, we have had personal, deep conversations in the past about our upbringing and, what brought us to this point. And it's something beautiful because we're all different, we're all unique. And I think there's something there that I realized that I have a lot of passion for, because I feel like the why matters more than the what, if that makes sense. Why people are the way they are makes more sense to me than just their actions, because their actions could be bad or maybe good, but the reasoning behind it gives it a lot more context. If that makes sense.
It does. It does. Oh man, we gotta get in. This is good. This is good. And just to follow it before we really get into the conversation, but what advice would you give to men that want to start their own dream or goal or podcast or whatever? What advice would you give them?
Don't be afraid of failure. And the reason I say that is because a lot of men I've met in my life, and women too, don't get me wrong, don't do the things they want to do truly because of fear of failure. But in my experience, I learned that failure is just a learning lesson. So that way you can grow and see the mistakes you've made and analyze and retrospect on what you could have done better. So that way you could be closer and closer to that passion, whether it's a business, whether it's a YouTube channel. With YouTube channels and content creating, I just feel like in that path, understand your niche and just start, because I always tell people always say, I don't have the best quality camera. I'm like, just use your iPhone. But I don't have a good audio. Just use your mic, wireless mic or whatever. Like, that's things that you can worry about later on. I just think that people, if you're going to be doing things in content creating or business or whatever, just make sure it's something that you're passionate about. And that's something that you feel like you could talk about endlessly. You know what I mean? I know, for example, with you have a nonprofit and you have a passion for animals. I know that, like, that's something that you care deeply in your heart, and it shows. And people can recognize when you're being authentic. Because if I'm someone that is passionate about fitness, why am I going to be talking about art or talking about crypto? Like, you stay your niche, and eventually you will just come to see that, oh my God, wow, I know that you're going to get it right away. You're going to understand your voice, your method, your strategy, and then you'll just like go up from there. But it starts by not being afraid of failure, because people think that just because um, you start a YouTube channel and you get 0 views, that means, oh man, that's it. No, you have to grow. It takes time, and that's okay, because that's why TikTok is there. That's why you have social media, so that way you can get people on and get an audience, so that way you can grow, and eventually it'll happen naturally. That's what I think. That's the advice I would definitely give.
I feel like we need a live just about starting your own, going after your dream. Because I mean, I can have so many follow ups that I can talk about that, but I know we're not here for that. I'm like, this is good. This is good. So I mean, just how you're talking, it definitely shows, and I absolutely agree. Go after what you enjoy doing in any aspect, whether it's a podcast or choosing a 9 to 5. Definitely, and absolutely, men or women have to remember, just because it's 0 likes or you only get 3 likes on a photo, that does not define the amazingness that you are. So I think that's absolutely incredible. So opening up, what does mental health mean to you? And real quick before you answer that, anybody has questions or want to give their input to any answers, let me know. If you have a question for me, like if you want to know what a woman's perspective is, this is open conversation. This is no judgment. We ask everybody to respect each other, even if we may not agree wholeheartedly on everything that someone says. Just hold space, because this is a safe space. Okay.
Absolutely.
So okay. So all right. So what does mental health mean to you?
Mental health for me, it means to me a self-awareness of something that is unique within you, but it doesn't need to define you per se. And what I mean by that, and to add a little bit of context, my family has a history of mental health. Just name it: ADHD, OCD, autism, bipolar, depression, everything, anxiety. And if I'm being honest, I feel like I have a compilation of all those traits. And I'm sure in our parents' generation, mental health wasn't something that was that big of a, like, there was no movement for it as much compared to now. And I feel like as we've become a lot more aware of this issue of depression and mental health in general, some people, I'll be honest, there are some people I feel like over um, diagnose it, because I feel like they just think that, oh, because my life is miserable, that means I'm depressed. No. Depression, at least from my own experience, does nothing to do with just being sad because of just events going on in one's life. Because I remember there would be days where I don't have anything going on and nothing pissed me off, nothing made me sad, and I just felt weak and I felt uncomfortable and alone. And as I just started getting into my thoughts, I started becoming more depressed. And I've felt this way for since I was in elementary school, and people never really understood me, and people thought I was just trying to like be distant and closed off. It wasn't that. It was something that was just in my mind, and I never understood it until I got older, and I realized, oh wow, now I understand why I have certain mood swings and things of that nature. So for me, mental health means that you have a unique perspective that a lot of people may not understand, but it's not for everyone to completely understand, because if you say I'm depressed, some people will be like, why? Why are you? It's not something that you could easily explain. And that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, why are you depressed? It's not about, there's not, that. What depression, the key thing I think is misunderstood is that depression, anxiety, things of that nature, there's not always a reason for it, if that makes sense. Like, there's no root for it. Sometimes, some people just feel down because they don't live life with purpose. They didn't go to the gym, or they didn't. Um, it has nothing to do with like they have a heartbreak or a loss, because those are different type of emotions that a human being can feel. And mental health, I think, is something that is become scared in a interesting way, a lot more common now. And I'm not sure if you've noticed this in growing up as well, but I've I haven't met a single person where they don't suffer from anxiety or depression or ADHD, overstimulation, things of that nature. But what I my point is that like people use your mental health and use it as like a way to like define their whole identity. You know, I, I might be someone that I might have traits of ADHD, but it's not the only thing that defines me. If anything, it makes me feel more like a superpower, if that makes sense. Like I have a billion things on my mind, but I'm able to work and get things done a certain way because of that. And I feel like if I was just like quote unquote normal, I don't think I would get I don't think my work ethic would be um as like on point as it would be if I wasn't, you know, having those mental health. I don't even say mental health issues. I wouldn't even say that. Just those mental health you know powers, if that makes sense. Like it's something that is very important and something that should be spoken in a very safe space because not everyone can understand it. People because a lot of men use logic for everything in their life, but it's something that is very sensitive and it has to be talked about in a safe space. And not a lot of people can, talk about it in a safe space, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sometimes people, when they hear certain things, they're like, okay, well, this is this guy, or this is just how they are, and that's not true. I think everybody has their own way of thinking and being able to process things, and I think that's the beauty of differences, is because maybe I process something one way, and I don't know how to solve something, and then another person is able to process it another way, and then boom, we found the answer and it works. And I think that people have to hold space of releasing control, that everybody is not going to be like them. I think we're in the day of age where people are like, a man is supposed to be this way and this way only. There's no space for anything else. A woman has to be this way and this way only. There's no space for anything else. And that's more like dictatorship than allowing a person to be themselves. So I think that being able to release some of that control, and let me just read. Sometimes depression presents as feelings hollow and numb, is not just sadness. There's definitely strengths on neurodiversity. It makes sense for small communities to have a variety of perspectives and temperaments. I think it's helped our ancestors. Absolutely, our ancestors survived. I think it's true too. Like I feel like a lot of times I feel growing up when you were here, you would hear like kids having to go to like special ed, or kids having to be placed in different classes than regular. You kind of They would be classified not smart. But the thing is that those kids was the smartest. They was very creative. Like, and I think that unfortunately sometimes they label kids some way because they don't stay still, and they need enrichment in their lives. They need stuff to stimulate their brain. And because they just wanted a kid to just sit and they didn't know how, it's just okay, well, this kid is just this. And I think that kind of limited, I think, some people on their creativity and kind of shunned them to have to fit into a box, which I feel like a lot of people are having struggle with that, which you should, because you're not defined by a box. And I think that for people, one thing I learned was like, people will try to say, "What are you feeling? Hurry up, tell me right now," and not give you a time to feel and work through and digest and kind of have a better understanding of what you're feeling. Sometimes, and I absolutely agree with you, there's times I feel something and I'm like, where did this come from? Like, I don't know what is going on, but I'm just in a funk. I'm just in a funk. I can't tell you why I'm in a funk. I can't tell you where it came from. And I have to sit with it for a few hours to say, it's okay that I'm in this funk right now. Let me be in this funk, and I need to figure it out, and then I'll end up finding out what it is. But I think that patience is really important, and especially I feel like when it comes to men, people have to understand. A lot of men was told, "Shut up, suck it up, man up. Boys don't cry, men don't cry, men aren't weak, men are, and it caused a lot of men to not know how to communicate or be vulnerable. And I feel like some women may ask for a man that can communicate, but when they start to express themselves, they judge them. So, I mean, honestly, if they were judged when they were kids and you judging them, I would close off too. You know what I'm saying? So, how do you? What do you want women? It doesn't matter. I'm not. I was gonna say women of our age, but women in general to know when it comes to holding space for men.
It's funny you mentioned that because in my latest interview, my friend Leia, who's a social worker, and I were talking in that episode about because one of her frustrations is why can't men be emotionally available? Because I think she was saying from her perspective, women want to be nurturing. They want their man to open up to them and tell them about their day and let them be that support for them. And I asked her, but do you understand why men are the way they are when they close off like that? And she was like, you tell me. And I told her, it is because, like you said, like men are told most of their lives that their feelings don't matter. They don't, their opinions, should shut off and, just be a man up and just take it what it is. And a lot of times men, when they open up to a woman, I I've noticed this regardless of the age gap, whether you're 18 or you're older, women get turned off by it. Unfortunately, not all, but a lot of them do, because women look for a man as a leader and as a protector, and within their nature, within their biology, when they see a man crying or being emotional or talking about their feelings, it makes them feel like that he can't be. I can't go to him to feel safe. Um, I can't depend on him if things were to go crazy. He's gonna be just as emotional as me, and it a lot of times, not all, but a lot of women will lose respect for their man if he becomes emotionally available, and that's the thing that I think a lot of women misunderstand about men. Um, Most men would rather just be closed off with their emotions and hide it and keep it to themselves, rather than express them to you and potentially lose you. Because most men want to be in a relationship. They want to have a companion so that way they can, be happy, live their life, create memories with, and court a woman. And they don't. They would rather hold their emotion than risk having her lose his respect. Um, and there's other ways I feel like men should be able to. I do feel like men should be able to open up to their woman, um, but I think there's other ways that men can uh, express their emotions without putting that burden. Because I think a lot of women are empaths, where they could receive energy, and talking about your feelings could be very draining. Let's be honest, it can be draining, and especially like someone like you and I, who I feel like we've been therapists to people in our life, and when people complain to us or talking to us about their struggles in life, we kind of feel like they're like throwing it all onto us, and that can be very exhausting after a while, consistently. Which is why I've kind of like limited myself to who I allow to share their story. But it can be draining. But I feel like men should, if they're going to be talking about their feelings, one, I think talking to with God first and just pray on it, or just sometimes, if I'm being honest, it's better to just go to your guy friends, because guys receive information very differently from women, which is something that I feel like another thing women don't understand. Men like results. Like and this is gonna sound a little bit mean, but I noticed that like when women give advice or talk about men's feelings, this is not all women again, but a lot of women they'd be like, everything will be okay, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, little things like that, and that annoys men. Like you can't even imagine. Um, Men would rather like someone be straightforward and be like, look, you need to do this. This is how you can fix your situation. This is the person you can call, and just like be straight to the point. Men can't handle things that are ambiguous. They need things to be factual and get things done because men unfortunately live life with a burden of performance a lot of times where if they don't get their act together, if they don't lead a relationship, it's going to lead to a very dark time in their lives where people won't respect them, and it could lead to people just not wanting to be attracted to them in general, or just like respected, or respecting them for who they are. It's something that there's a lot of things I could name that I feel like women misunderstand, but I think that's definitely the one I hear a lot for sure.
I feel I gotta come through for the woman right quick. I feel it depends on the space. Meaning, absolutely, I've held space for people like, and I had no business holding space for them. I should have been let that person not have access to me. But I will use one example. I have a friend that I've known since I was 17. It's many moons now. And I will say that in the very beginning, it was tough to hold space because I didn't even know how to hold space for myself. But as I got older and sitting in it, we just had a conversation a few days ago, which we was on the phone for hours, holding space, it can be draining. Absolutely. I think that when you talk to a man or a woman, and I think to me, if the person keeps coming to me about the same thing, saying they want to change something, and they keep coming just because they want to hear what sounds good to them, not because they want to change something, that's when I'm saying, hey, I can't. But if a person is really like, it's heavy on their heart, we could take time on that. I'm there for you. So I feel like it depends on the person. It depends how they fill their own cup. It depends on just the space that you can hold. I think that me personally, I do not. I've had many crybaby sessions with men, and I love them to death. I have not lost any respect for those men. Some of those men are gangsters, they from the hood, and I love them to death. I don't look at them any different because we all deserve to cry sometimes. Right. I think for me, maybe I resonate a lot because I had to grow up. For me, in my perspective, I had to grow up and be an adult at a young age, a lot of responsibility. So right. With that being said, I kind of had to be in survival mode. So I know how it is to have to push, bust your butt, carry the world on your shoulders, not have time to show any weakness. So when I see a man doing that, I'm like, all right, let's pause real quick. Like, you all right? Right. Like you all right? Because I mean, we are all strong beings, but we all need a break, So I really feel like it's nothing. I think too what you said on the men. If I feel like if a man feels more comfortable and he has friends that will actually hold him accountable and not judge him and not shame him, absolutely. And I think that if he is with a woman that he has guy friends that are open minded and all of those things, those are conversations with him and his woman that, excuse me, I feel like they will have to have because, like you said, hinting on a positive woman is gonna offer up being a nurturer. So, a woman wants to hold space. Now, there are women that are nurturing, but because they have the society mindset of men shouldn't be a certain way, they could be nurturing to an extent. So, I think that's when, if I feel like if a man's going into a relationship with a woman, this is where I always say, take your time, y'all. You know, I mean, somebody might look good, but take your time because you need to make sure that you guys can actually have tough conversations because you guys can get along when it's okay. But when it's hard, you know, when a man needs to break down, when he doesn't have, maybe he did talk to God, maybe he did pray about it. And how about if God is saying, talk to your spouse, your wife, or whatever, your girlfriend? You want to make sure that that person can actually hold space for you.
Mm-hmm. No, I just to kind of add to that. I agree with you on most of your points, but I think that's the thing that it's so hard to find a safe space a lot of times for men, because not everyone is willing to give them that non-judgment, safe space environment where they can just talk about even like little things. Like it doesn't even necessarily be something major. Just talk about life and just oh man, I wish I was more on my path. I'm not sure if this is the right job for me or little things like that. It's it definitely depends on the person. And I also wanted to add that, like, because you yourself, I feel like you are someone that naturally is someone that, because I know that you like those intellectual conversations and getting to know people on a deeper level. Not, and I'm not saying that like, well, I guess I am saying that. I feel like you are an exception. I think you're in that minority that can be a safe space where people can talk about those issues, which is amazing. It's beautiful. But you could speak. I'm sure those guys that you've talked to, I'm sure there's like a bunch of women or even men that they tried to talk to before you that didn't give them that free space. You know, and I think that's something that
What the hell? That's gone. This is
should
gone.
also
God
be acknowledged
moving.
too, because um, I remember like I had this. There was someone I talked to, and she told me how the first time her man ever opened up to her, and how she just couldn't look at him the same. There's a famous story. I forgot who the UFC fighter it was, but he got beat by his opponent, and his girl was in the audience, and I think she was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and she said that after that fight, after she saw her man lose the fight, she couldn't look at him the same again, even though she stayed loyal to him and everything. It rubbed her the wrong way. She could not see him in that same vein of that protector, that masculine man, whatever, she saw him as. And that's the thing that men fear. They don't want respect is probably the most important thing that uh men seek. I think that for that's more important than their status and their image, if I'm being honest. Like they don't men not I think most men don't really care if people like them or not. But if they gain the respect of other people, that's something that gives them fulfillment in life, you know? But but yeah, I agree with a lot of your points though. I think that it's important for, men to be able to have that safe space.
Absolutely. I think it's very important because I think just human beings in general, if we aren't able to express ourselves, we are cranky. I feel like if you hold stuff in and you're not able maybe to, like you said, talk to God, take a walk, meditate, pray, stretch, something, like journal, something, talk to a therapist, call a hotline, talk to your friends, family, whatever it is, whatever the case may be, it catches up to you. If it doesn't catch up to you with anger, there's so many studies on human beings just having diseases later on, autoimmune diseases, a lot of inflammation in their body because of trauma, because of things that they didn't let flow through their body, that's just in their body, just hanging in there. And I just feel like, I guess partially too is I try my best to be what I needed when I was younger. I try my best to just be that person. So I I feel like that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I hope that we could reach one woman, like we can change one woman's mind that doesn't agree with this at all. That doesn't agree with this at all. And she's like, a man shouldn't cry, and I hope she hears this and she sees me talking and she hears, she's like, you know what? Okay. Because I get it. I get it. Growing up, you I mean, being a woman, I picture a man being a macho man. I picture a man being strong and all of these things that they say a man is supposed to be. But I never seen my dad cry as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't think that was something that men do. But I remember one day I seen my dad cry. I seen him cry. And it was just like, like men cry? Like, this is not real. Like, men cry. So it gave me a different perspective. Like, I didn't look at my dad as weak. I just looked at my dad like he's a human. Like, he's not a robot, or he's not just this tough guy. Like, and the older I got and the more conversations we had together, it made me realize his backstory and why he had to move the way he moved to be who he had to be for that time frame being. And I was like, okay, and did I agree with his whole story and everything? Absolutely not. But it gave me perspective, and it allowed me to know sometimes people are the way they are because of things that they went through. And it may not be who they wanted to be, but it's what they had to do in order to survive for the time frame. So, I think that's another thing too when it comes to women, is that if you are dating someone that never had a safe space, he might be a tough pickle to crack. Like, he might be tough. But when he feels safe, got to be mindful and of how you handle that. Because that's his first time. Or maybe he, like you said, maybe somebody did hold space for him. I mean, somebody didn't hold space for him, and that's why he just shut off all over again. So I think that people have, and you just have to, even if that's not your boyfriend or girlfriend and you're a friend and he's deciding to call on you or whatever the case may be, like, you have to just hold space, because you just don't know. You just don't know what somebody has went through. And I think just having compassion, and it can be a tough pickle, but you're more than welcome to stay on, because I could ask both of y'all questions, but Cliche also joined. So I just want to bring him up on here so he could tell us who he is, even though I know who he is, but he could say who he is, and then get his perspective as well. This is a great conversation. Cliche, I'm so glad right now. And Christian, shout out to all the stuff that you are putting up on here. Cliche, welcome in.
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
How you doing,
Anthony,
man?
Cliche, Anthony.
Interesting situation. How you doing, Anthony?
Yeah,
my brother name is Anthony too, so
that's right, situation. Anthony.
Hey.
The double. All right, listen, triple A. We just needed another A. That's it. So Anthony, so Cliche. So yeah. let the people know who you are, what you do, the good stuff.
Okay, well, I'm Cliche the poet. I'm a poet on Instagram. I got a book out called From the Heart and Soul of Cliche the Poet. I do open mics every once in a while on Instagram. Every once in a while I do a show called Love and Poetry. That I do like on Saturdays or Sundays, depends on the day I decide. But yeah, that's basically who I am.
All right. That's what's up. You never know. Maybe you know. He got a podcast. You know. All right. So we talking about men's mental health. Everybody, for anybody that's tuning in, I appreciate y'all all. So the question that I have for you guys, we'll let Anthony go first to answer, and then Cliche.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the common mental health challenges that men face?
Oh, you said let him go first.
Yes.
How long do we have?
So we have 20 minutes. We have 20 minutes. You know, it's an hour discussion.
I think the biggest mental health thing that men go through is probably stress, I would say. Well, I guess that's more of an emotion than anything. But like in the realms of stress, I feel like a lot of men don't feel like they have that space where they have the capability to be happy. And what I mean by that is, we kind of touched about this earlier, but men have this burden of performance where they're meant to lead, protect, provide, financially, and, take care of the bills, make sure he can read his woman's mind, and make sure that she's taken care of, and, make sure she's able to get her nails done and her hair done. And there's so many things that stresses guys out. And I feel like men, they'll never say it, but I think deep down they do require or desire a not just appreciation, but just that, understanding that what they do, everything that a man does in his life, I think his biggest fulfillment is because he wants to see the people he loves taken care of at the end of the day. I think the men that seek, become happy through getting Jordans or just getting a whole bunch of materialistic things, it can make them happy for a small period of time. But I think a man's true fulfillment is making sure that he has a family and his wife is taken care of, and that she's loyal to him, and that he's able to create memories and see that his children and his wife are content, and he's the reason why they have that contentment. That's something that I think that they struggle with. They don't live life with purpose, and I think that's something that um, comes with a lot of trauma. Not having that, life where they can just have it in order, because it's like a weird balance where like they want to make sure their woman's taken care of, but the woman doesn't respect him, or they want to take care of the people they love, but his woman is independent, so and she's not the type to ask for favors and will allow her to be in her true feminine form. It's a mix of a couple of things. I think that's overall just living in his purpose to allow his masculine form to be into fruition, to allow his woman and his children be in their most happy. I hope that makes sense.
It does.
How about you, Cliche? Oh, good.
Mental health wise, I mean, definitely depression is one main thing that men deal with. Depression and grief. That's things that, and grief isn't just about somebody passing away in your life. It can be you lose somebody in your life, you lose a relationship, you lose a child, you lose a job. It just, to me, those are two things that people definitely deal with. The men deal with a lot.
Absolutely. I think too, like, just with society's like definition of what you should be by a certain age, what you should have by a certain age, I think can definitely put pressure and kind of force you to get yourself in some tough pickles.
Yeah.
Or feel like you have to force to be something or do something that necessarily, if you remove that, you wouldn't be or have rushed to do some certain things.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree too.
Do you guys have questions for a woman's perspective about pertaining to men's mental health?
Ooh, I'm curious. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, from a woman's perspective, what in your opinion, are your top three things that, because I do believe in gender roles to a certain extent, right? What are the top three things you yourself feel like are the most important traits to have in a man?
Mm. 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 Discipline. We can definitely say discipline. I would say discipline, integrity, and communication. Yeah. I'm like, nah, discipline. Like, that's definitely.
Discipline.
That's definitely.
I agree with that because discipline is very important because I think that discipline shows a man that's not gonna just, like, for example, money. Like, if he's not disciplined with his money, then how is he gonna sustain a, good household to be able to be responsible to take care of not only himself but his woman. So I completely agree with that too, for sure.
Even discipline with temptation, self-control.
Mm-hmm.
I was just having a conversation with a guy friend that I'm just like, I get it. I mean, we all have eyeballs. We see beautiful people in the streets, beautiful women, beautiful men. We see them. I get it. Like, but that's just the surface. You know what I'm saying? Like, are they respectful? Are they kind? What are you looking for beyond the surface? Right. And that was the conversation. So I feel like having discipline, because not for nothing, we all grown here. That you could meet somebody that could give you ass right now. Wow. But let's be honest. Is that all you're looking for?
No.
It's just like, and I feel like that comes into play. It's the same thing for women. A woman can meet somebody right now to give them peanuts. Is the woman just looking for that? So I feel like those go into conversation as well of what your partner or someone that you want to be your partner is looking for. Are they just looking to have fun? And everybody, there's no right or wrong answer, but you want to make sure that they align to what you are looking for and they're best suited. We're not here to be liked by everybody. We're here to if you're looking. It depends also what you're looking for. If you're looking for an open relationship or if you're looking for a partnership or a soulmate, it all depends. But if you are looking for someone that is monogamous, then you have to ask some tough questions. And, because we live in a world right now where instant gratification, someone don't do something that you like, I get out because the next person, and that's not unconditional love. I don't stand for cheating or abuse, but I do feel like don't just throw somebody away because you guys had a disagreement, and that's why I feel like don't rush to get into a relationship either. Like some things could be avoidable. Cliche, you had a question?
No, actually, like I told you earlier, I did a little bit of research about 8 things. Well, I got 7. 6 things that men want women to know. So I can.
Let's hear it.
Okay. This came from an article I found on Google, and it said, number 1, men want to be respected. Respect for a man is like spinach to Popeye. It gives them strength and almost makes them feel invincible. What does respect look like? Questioning everything he does, criticizing his decisions and motives. 2, men are not raised to share their feelings. 3, we can listen, but we rather fix it. Men are fixers and problem solvers. Every man wants to be the hero. Men want to be taken care of. Basically, taking care of your man means making his life easier, not parenting him. Men are afraid to be seen as weak. Emasculating your man is probably the worst thing you could ever do. That's the 6 things I found online that men want their women to know.
Absolutely. Respect is something that is important. Like, respect is, and to the younger generation, I feel like some people don't talk about these conversations because it's so normalized. But I feel like when you hear a lot of songs, and I feel like before I say that, you hear a lot about your temple, like your body is your temple. Like, I feel like a lot of songs we hear about, oh, I just met this girl, I had sex with her, and then I let her leave. That's not respecting your temple. I just feel like if we're getting into the aura where you hear a lot of people say like, oh, he's a king and she's a queen, we have to be mindful of what we're entertaining. If we're saying we're demanding respect, if you're asking for respect, you have to be mindful of what you're doing, because some of the things you might be doing is not respecting yourself. So you have to be intentional, because you never know. Somebody, you can't not give yourself respect and ask for someone else to give you respect. Is what I'm just trying to say. Men or women.
So I was going to ask you, Jolanda, what are things a man has to do to earn your respect? Whether it's someone that you're being courted by, or I guess in general, maybe any man that you meet in your life. What does he have to do to gain your respect from a female perspective?
To gain my respect, I think it's how they treat themselves, right, and how they treat others, and that comes with time. Right. I don't like for men to rush me. Like, I just met them and like, okay, we need to be together like tomorrow, and I don't like that. Like, I just feel like you don't know me, and I always tell people this: if you want to get to know me, it takes time. Because you might see something about me that you don't like, like, So I think that I just feel like time to gain my respect, time, and to just be yourself, because to me that's gonna make me respect you. Be yourself, even if you like, oh, she's not gonna like this side of me. I'm gonna respect it because you're being authentically yourself. That matters. That goes a long way with friendship, with romantic relationships. And I say this because I had a conversation with someone and I told them a boundary that I had. Right. And I told them this because I care for them and I want them in my life. And they took the boundary and they hid what they were doing because they didn't want me to look at them different. And we had a conversation. I'm like, I didn't want you to change who you were. I'm just letting you know what I can and cannot do. Boundaries aren't to try to control someone. Rather, it's letting the person know what you will or will not accept. So I just want people to know, I may not agree with what you do, but you showing yourself, your whole self, and just being yourself would definitely, it's a good look. It's just be yourself. And we have that. I think that's the thing about having community. You're gonna meet someone that you're like, I don't know. Right. We don't agree, but that's where communication comes in. And then if you guys really bump heads and don't see eye to eye, then maybe you have to take some time to have a breather and set some rules there, or maybe you guys just can't be in each other's lives, And
I agree with you.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree with you.
And absolutely, deep thought, self-respect is a form of self-care. Absolutely. I feel like with having self-respect, you shouldn't put yourself in predicaments and situations where you know that other people don't respect you. Boundaries are important, both boundaries we have with other people and boundaries we set for ourselves. Absolutely. 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 And another thing too, I feel like don't shame yourself if you make mistakes. Because we talk about self-care, we talk about boundaries, but I think sometimes people forget, like, when you're learning to add boundaries into your life, add more self-love, add more self-care, sometimes we kind of want our shadow selves, the side that we don't like about ourselves, to kind of just go away. And that is just not going to happen overnight. I think you have to embrace that aspect of you and work through those things, not shame yourself.
I think that, to your point, boundaries aren't, like you said, isn't a way to just like avoid people. It's kind of like a way of maintaining your peace and maintaining your character and not letting someone change who you are or that other person. It's just that they're not meant to be with you. Simple as that. A lot of the times, and it protects both your time, energy, and peace at the end of the day by setting those boundaries. And I agree with you a lot in everything you said, that it's important to just like communicate that with people and not, because I notice a lot of people just take things the wrong way and take it personal, but it's not meant to be personal. It's just,
right.
You got to prioritize your own happiness and your own self first. That's all you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, but a lot of people, just thinking a lot of people about this thing, even in the audience. But yeah, like, setting boundaries is a good thing and helpful. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That can be a slippery slope if a man runs into that enough, but who he is doesn't match with that woman. One, it puts pressure to change who you are so you aren't alone. That's a deep thought from Clarissa said.
And I agree. Via learning that the hard way a couple of times.
Like, what you mean? Like you pressure somebody?
No, I've been.
Oh, you've been pressured to change?
Yeah. Like the whole, like, we've had conversations of niceness and all that concept. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what, and honestly speaking, I've been in a relationship where I wanted the person to change and because I saw something in them that I was expecting them to do immediately, but you can't, when they're ready, they'll do it. If they're going to do it and if they want to do it. And I think that's where the conversation you have, there goes boundaries, there goes what do you have resentment because you abandoned yourself? Or do you have resentment because the person is not meeting? There it goes. I feel like it's abandoning yourself. I think it's an expectation that you set, but you really didn't talk to them about it. So I feel like you can't change anybody. You could do it, and this is why I tell women, if a man's gonna cheat, he's gonna cheat. Like, it doesn't matter if you do everything right. And it's the same thing with a man. If he could do everything right, that doesn't mean that she's gonna do right by him. And I think that's where it's just asking the questions, getting to know someone. And I mean, even then, people change. So I think that you have to be open to maybe revisit some of those questions or conversations to see if you guys align a year from now. Because maybe something has changed. So
yeah.
I mean, we are getting to a close. I just realized it must be 8 o'clock. So I don't know who want to close us off with a prayer. I just want to say that I am so grateful for everybody getting their input. Thank you, Anthony. Another Anthony. I'm very grateful for you guys for taking out the time to chat. Definitely a lot of insight, a lot of input. We got a podcaster, content creator, a poet. So I guess since you got the poet cliche, we're gonna let you close it, please.
Okay. Father God, I come to you praying. Thank you for waking us up this morning, starting us on the way in the right mind and body. Father God, I thank you for forgiving us for every sin we have committed. Father God, I pray that you will bless this discussion that we had, and then it be very informative, and let it be able to open up the ears of certain people that you wanted to hear this open discussion. Father God, I pray that you will use it to educate and inform, and just bless everybody who hears it and came on to the show, and those that's going to hear it on the after show. And I'm aware that will be done. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Have a safe one. Be safe, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right.